They laughed when they proposed it. A union between a Zalari noble and a human. A diplomatic gesture. They called it, but everyone knew it was a joke meant to humiliate Earth. Humanity, the newest probationary species in the Galactic Council, had done the unthinkable. Survived its own self-destruction and reached the stars without guidance. To the Zalari, who bred out emotion and spontaneity generations ago, humans were chaotic, crude, and undeserving of council favor. So they chose Lady Syrinx of House Viral, third daughter of a strategic bloodline, beautiful, politically disposable, and just rebellious enough to make the stunt convincing. She would be sent to Earth as a symbol of unity. Internally, the noble houses placed private wagers. Would she leave in disgust or die of cultural shock? Either outcome would make for fine entertainment at the next summit. Commander Mason Vyrek was Earth's representative, a man known more for battlefield commendations than diplomacy. He was selected precisely because he annoyed the Zalari delegates during a previous summit. Tall, blunt, and unpolished, he embodied everything the Zalari scorned. That made him the perfect candidate. Earth's council didn't find the arrangement funny, but they played along. The Zalari had power. Earth had pride. So Mason accepted. Syrinx stepped onto human embassy platform in ceremonial garb, tall and glimmering with bioluminescent filaments. She scanned the room with disdain and found him waiting, not bowing, but standing at ease, unflinching and calm. He offered a nod, not a flourish. Lady Syrinx, welcome. No grand speech. No groveling. She noted the absence with surprise. The ceremony was brief, signed, sealed, and witnessed by 1,000 alien eyes across networks. A Zalari bride handed over like a curiosity, and a human receiving her like a logistics officer accepting a delivery. The moment passed. The novelty faded. The universe returned to its games. Syrinx was not subtle about her contempt. She called Earth primitive in 5 languages. She criticized the gravity, the temperature, even the food. She requested separate quarters. Mason obliged without comment. He seemed unbothered by her barbs, unshaken by her presence. She had expected defensiveness, arrogance, maybe anger. Instead, he offered silence and space. That confused her more than any insult would have. Her messages to the council went unanswered, or worse, were returned with smug congratulations and offhand praise for her dedication to diplomacy. The realization dawned slowly. She had been discarded. This wasn't a test. It was exile in a gilded box. Mason, meanwhile, treated her not like an obligation, but like a guest. He asked nothing, demanded nothing, and gave her every courtesy without pretense. She found no emotional explosions, no violence, no erratic behavior. Just discipline, restraint, strength cloaked in patience. She began watching him in silence. How he moved, how he spoke to others, guards, aides, even alien staff. Always respectful, always calm. He had seen war. That much was clear. But unlike her people, he carried it with dignity, not pride. And that, she thought with discomfort, was not the behavior of a brute. It was something else. Something she couldn't name yet. Days turned into weeks, and Syrinx's expectations began to collapse under the quiet weight of reality. She had been trained to endure discomfort, but not confusion. Mason Vyrek didn't fit into any category she had prepared for. He wasn't hostile, yet he wasn't submissive. He wasn't trying to impress her, yet he wasn't indifferent. He simply existed as he was, disciplined, centered, and maddeningly human. The embassy complex was surrounded by Earth's natural wilds, green, chaotic, uncontrolled. At first, she loathed it. The air was unfiltered, the sounds unmuted, the light unregulated. And yet, somehow, it wasn't hostile. Over time, the sensory overload became a background hum. She began to walk the outer gardens, first out of boredom, then curiosity. He never followed, but she often found him tending the ground alone, planting, pruning, repairing, not commanding others, doing it himself. Their conversations were brief at first, mostly logistical. She asked questions. He gave clear, concise answers. No effort to charm, no posturing. He never tried to engage her beyond necessity. That, more than anything, made her want to understand him. One afternoon, she questioned the odd sculptures lining the inner halls. He explained they were memorials, each one carved by survivors of a different human conflict. She asked why they preserved failure. He corrected her. We preserve cost, not failure. The word stayed with her long after he'd left. Syrinx had always believed strength meant control. Emotions muted, instincts suppressed, perfection in all things. But Mason didn't control his emotions. He carried them. They didn't overwhelm him. They gave him gravity. When she snapped at him, he didn't retaliate. When she mocked his people, he didn't argue. He only said, "You'll see what you need to in time." There was no threat in it, just certainty. She began to study Earth's history in private. Wars, yes, but also breakthroughs. Disasters, followed by rebuilding. Collapse and then renewal. The humans had a kind of madness, charging into the unknown, failing spectacularly, and getting back up. No species with logic would behave this way, and yet they endured, again and again. The Zolari would have erased the records of such chaos. Humans archived it, analyzed it, and taught their children not to forget. Shame wasn't buried. It was fuel. In a quiet moment, she asked Mason why he accepted the Union. "Because they thought it would shame us," he said. "But I thought maybe we'd surprise them." She expected sarcasm. There was none, just quiet conviction. He wasn't trying to win her. He wasn't trying at all. And that's what made her stay. Not because she had no choice, but because, for the first time in her life, someone offered her space without demand, attention without judgment, and dignity without condition. One night, as a storm rolled in, she stood watching the lightning from the observatory window. Mason joined her but said nothing. They stood in silence for several minutes. She didn't flinch when she finally said it. "You're not what I expected," he answered without turning. "Neither are you." Time no longer moved with the same cold precision Syrinx was used to. Each day with Mason blurred into the next, not because of monotony, but because there was no performance to maintain, no mask to wear. Her presence in the embassy shifted from ceremonial to natural. She stopped wearing her formal robes. Her language softened. Even her gait lost its rigid posture. Mason never commented on the change. He didn't need to. The silence between them had grown comfortable. Something rare in the Zolari world where silence was a tactical tool. With him, it was space to breathe. She found herself seeking his company, not for dialogue, but for presence. Just knowing he was near offered an anchoring calm. They began to eat meals together. At first, she observed the odd rituals. Humans blessing food, sharing jokes, even debating politics over dinner. She expected discord. Instead, she found vitality. Laughter didn't signal instability. It meant connection. Disagreement didn't lead to violence. It led to understanding. Mason introduced her to human literature, not propaganda or historical records, but fiction. Stories that weren't about victory or conquest, but loss, love, sacrifice. She couldn't understand why a species would devote so much energy to imagining pain that never happened, until she did. These stories weren't weakness. They were rehearsal, armor forged in empathy. Then came the summons. A Zolari envoy would arrive in 3 days. She was a return for debriefing and reassignment. The message was cold, expected, but her reaction wasn't. She read the words 3 times, then sat unmoving for hours. Mason didn't ask what was wrong. He knew. She eventually showed him the message. He read it, handed it back, and said nothing, just nodded. The next morning, her belongings were packed with robotic efficiency, but not by her. Mason had done it. Quietly, she asked him, "Is this what you want?" He paused. "What I want doesn't matter. What you choose does." No pleading, no dramatic appeal, just clarity. Her decision wasn't his to make. For a woman born into obligation, it was a strange and shattering freedom. That night, she didn't sleep. She walked the halls, touched the walls, memorized the scent of the air, the weight of gravity on her skin. At some point, she found herself outside Mason's door. She didn't knock, she entered. He looked up from his desk, startled but calm. "I don't want to return," she said. "You don't have to," he replied. "I'm not staying because of duty," she added. "I know." And that was it. No declarations. No ceremonial vows. No witnesses. She crossed the space between them and kissed him. Not as a Zalari noble, not as a diplomatic pawn, but as herself. They spent the night together. No words necessary. In the morning, she was gone. She left only a short message on his terminal. For words, "Don't follow me. Wait." When she returned to the Galactic Council chambers 3 standard cycles later, the room fell silent. She had not been expected to survive a single season among humans, let alone return by choice, let alone visibly, undeniably pregnant. Her skin shimmered brighter than before, her posture looser but firmer, and the usual aura of cold Zalari detachment was gone. It was not arrogance she carried now, but certainty. She did not wear the insignia of House Viral. She wore a neutral robe, earth-made, unadorned. Her eyes scanned the hall, locking momentarily with those who had wagered on her failure. None met her gaze for long. The High Regent cleared his throat. "Lady Syrinx, your return is unexpected." She answered plainly, "I am no longer Lady Syrinx of Viral. I relinquished title and standing." A ripple passed through the chamber. One elder sputtered, "You renounce your bloodline?" "I do," with full clarity. "And what?" Another sneered, "Did your time with the primitives teach you?" She smiled slightly, not with mockery, but understanding. "They taught me what your breeding chambers never could. That chaos is not weakness. That love is not error. That strength is not dominance. And that some bonds cannot be engineered, they are chosen." The child within her moved. She rested a hand on her stomach without thinking. It was not a gesture of defiance. It was reverence. "You contaminated your line," spat a noble from the rear. "What possible claim could you now hold in this council?" "I make no claim. I make a statement." Her voice rose, calm but unyielding. "The Zalari sent me as a joke. You threw away a life for the sake of pride. But you forgot something. Humans don't play by your rules. And now neither do I." The council buzzed with hushed panic, but she paid no attention. She walked directly to the center dais, activated her personal archive, and projected a set of genetic markers into the air. Hers, Mason's, and the hybrid growing inside her. Undeniable. Authentic. The child of a Zalari noble and a human soldier now exists. You cannot unmake that truth. You can deny it, punish it, fear it, but you cannot erase it. Silence. She turned without permission and left. No request for pardon. No appeal for recognition. She had not come to ask. She had come to show. Word of her return spread like wildfire. Across systems, species, and social strata, beings debated what her actions meant. A few condemned her. Some praised her. Many simply watched. The Zalari elite quietly fumed. But on Earth, at a remote mountain base, Commander Mason Virek received a message on a secure channel. No encryption, no fanfare. Just 3 words. "We're coming home." He stood from his desk, crossed the compound, and walked to the eastern ridge. He looked up, not with fear, not with hope, but with the quiet knowledge of a man who had never doubted. Because humans don't need to win every game. They only need to change the rules.